Hi everybody, today is Wednesday, May 28th, 2025, and our friend Laith Marouf is back with us. Welcome back, Laith.
Good to be with you, Nima.
Laith, uh, what's going on right now in Yemen? We've learned that Israelis are bombing the Sana'a International Airport. And what has happened there and what are they doing this? It's because of Yemeni attack on Israel, and you're taking that.
Yeah, this is the second time they attacked the Sana'a airport in less than a month. And, the Yemeni people rebuilt the airport and the runways. And there was one remaining jet that was still active because the Israelis and the Americans basically destroyed the other aircrafts that Yemen and the Yemeni airlines owned. There was one aircraft left. It was the path that you have to take into Sana'a from Amman. That's the only flight. And this is a flight that is vetted by the Saudis and the Jordanian security. And that's the only agreement for flights into Sana'a. The flight landed in the airport, and within half an hour of the landing and disembarkment of the civilians coming from Amman, the jet was attacked by Israeli aircrafts, and the rest of the airport was also attacked. So the intention of this is to cut the path of anybody going into Yemen through air. So now we should be expecting that Sana'a will retaliate in the same kind. It has already retaliated before for the previous attacks on the Sana'a airport, but this time with a total cutting off of the country from any international air travel, then Sana'a has to retaliate in same kind. So now we should be expecting definitely civilian aircrafts on the tarmac in Tel Aviv, in the Ben Gurion airport, to also be taken back. This is the name of the game, it's a tit for tat.
You mean that so far we know that Yemen has attacked Israel various times, but they didn't attack civilians. And right now, do you mean that they're gonna attack airplanes who are involved in the civilian sort of part of activities in Israel, or they're gonna attack the military bases and and the infrastructures related to the military part of Israel? What's your take on that? Are they gonna change their strategy, their sort of understanding of Israel?
Yeah, I mean, we saw over the last month with the Yemeni armed forces targeting the vicinity of the Tel Aviv airport, kind of like warning shots, and to use those attacks that are not intended to kill anybody, but to dissuade international airline paths to stop their trips. And that's what happened. So Yemen didn't want to target civilians and civilian infrastructure, but it wanted to bring some end to normalcy of travel to the Zionist colony, to affect its decisions in continuing the genocide. But because the Zionists are genocidal, they're crazy, fascist freaks, murderers, what they have responded by is to attack the Hodeida airport, seaport and other seaports that Yemen has, as well as now the second time targeting the international airport in Sana'a and destroying aircraft. So Sana'a now, given that its humanitarian way of dealing is not working, it has to also target now civilian aircrafts on the ground in the tarmac to show the parity. And it doesn't mean that Sana'a needs to kill civilians. It can wait for them to disembark, as the Israelis did, and destroy those aircrafts. There has to be an end to air travel to Tel Aviv as a punishment to the Zionist colony. And it's an end to bringing all this never-ending supply of mercenaries that are coming to the Zionist colony. That's the only ones that are coming right now, fascists and mercenaries that want to participate in the colonial process and in the killing of Palestinians and in the looting of their culture. That's the only people that are flying into Tel Aviv. So Yemen needs to and will, for sure, raise the bar on its attacks.
What's so fascinating is that the Israeli government, the Netanyahu administration, is not learning from what the United States has been experiencing against Yemen so far. And I don't see Yemen losing, but Israel has a lot to lose in this fight against Yemen if they escalate that. Do you think on the part of Israelis, do they really want to escalate the fight with Yemenis?
Yeah, I mean, they're very high on their supremacy. They have a strangle choke on all the elite in the West. They have never-ending access to weapons as they wish. They can destroy the career of anyone in the West that opposes them. They can stick the police on the citizens of Western countries citizens that oppose them, even with a tweet, let alone that confront them or carry arms against them, as Elias Rodriguez did in DC last week. So they're high on their supremacy, and they think they can do as they wish. And the Western governments will supply it with all the money, all the weapons, all the protection, and will sacrifice its own citizens. The UK government, the Canadian government, the American government will sacrifice their own citizens. They'll sacrifice the comfort of their citizens. They'll sacrifice the whole reputation of their civilization on the altar of Zionism. That's what the Zionists rightfully believe. They're right on that. The value of an American citizen ends the minute they criticize the Zionist colony. Their life is worthless. And their own elite in the United States, in the UK, in Canada, and other places are acting openly like that to their own citizens. Of course, if you're a Zionist, you will go do things that America is afraid to do. Because in the end, it's not going to be Israeli soldiers that will have to raise the bar. If tomorrow Ansarullah and the Yemeni government in Sana'a actually destroy the Ben Gurion airport, it will be American military and UK military and French military coming to die in a fight with Ansarullah, a fight that is already foretold that they're going to lose, as it was before. Once again, they'll do that because their masters in Tel Aviv demand it. And that's what will happen. Americans, French, others will die for the Zionists.
They're not just attacking Yemen, they're attacking Lebanon, in the southern part of Lebanon, as we talked before. You mentioned that. What's going on with Lebanon? Why are they attacking Lebanon?
It's because they, again, it's that same holistic concept of, they can, if they want to, occupy South Lebanon and more of Lebanon, as they're doing of Syria, as they're doing of Gaza, as they're doing in the West Bank. And yesterday, we were in Mays al-Jabal, right on the border with occupied Palestine. I was visiting there, reporting with Free Palestine TV, and the Israeli military, first during the night, there was a platoon of infantry that walked into the edges of the village, Mays al-Jabal, and were trying to scare people out of their homes to leave, and families, some of them got their children and women out, and then they went back, the men, and then they pushed in through one of the roads into the village and moved the United Nations markers that are like the blue barrels, they're called, that mark the United Nations blue line, that is kind of the closest thing acceptable to the border between Palestine and Lebanon. And eventually, the Lebanese military, as we were there, came in and pushed and took down these earth mounds that the Israelis put on the road. As the reporters and the media and the military was there, they found all these intelligence gathering devices. There was a rock that has cameras in it and listening devices. And it seems that, obviously they're doing this everywhere in the south of Lebanon, these Zionists. And this is normal. They're expanding these illegal bases that they've built on newly occupied Lebanese territory. And they're continuing on a daily basis attacks on civilians. As we were coming on this morning, there was an attack on Al-Abbasiyya village, which is right outside Tyre or Sur, the tourist city in the south of Lebanon on the beach. And there was luckily no one martyred there or injured, because this is a street in Al-Abbasiyya that is like a market street. It's full of children, it's full of families. Just an hour ago, there was another attack on Blida, again in the south of Lebanon, on a car. And again, alhamdulillah, there was nobody injured this time. But this car was parked right beside the football field, where children were playing. And these missiles that they're using on attacks against scooters and cars in the south of Lebanon, and even on civilians that are walking. By the way, they attacked a man outside his home just a few days ago. He was just standing outside the house. They're using these Michelot missiles that are like Hellfire missiles. And so you could imagine a Hellfire Michelot missile hitting a scooter. It leaves a 6-meter deep hole. And, it's the Hellfire breaks into purposefully, and a lot of shrapnel everywhere. So it's an anti-tank, anti-armor missile, and that has also shrapnel effect. And so it shows you how, crazy arrogant they are. It's like the elephant stomping on a mosquito, for instance, right? They could use smaller weapons to attack somebody on a scooter, but they purposefully do this because they're like, look at us. We have so much weapons given to us by the obedient slave leaders of Washington, D.C. and Ottawa and London, that we can use these anti-armor missiles on a civilian standing outside his house. This is the crazy situation here.
Laith, the reaction of the Lebanese government, what are they talking about? Are they somehow trying to ignore what's going on in the southern part of Lebanon, or they're trying to do something?
There was a meeting yesterday between the Hezbollah parliamentary bloc, led by the head of the bloc, actually it was on Sunday now, to the presidential palace. Sunday was the commemorations of 25 years since the expulsion of the Zionist colonist occupiers of South Lebanon, since the resistance won in the year 2000, militarily defeated the Zionists. It's called the Resistance and Liberation Day commemoration. It's a national holiday. And in this meeting, there was clear discussions about the rebuilding of the South. That's another thing. In the south of Lebanon, there's nothing been rebuilt. People are taking down the rubble, trying to rebuild by themselves, but the Zionists are actually attacking any heavy lifting machinery, diggers and tractors and what have you, and they are attacking all the equipment being brought and or even these mobile homes that are being set up to have groceries and services to be given to, or bakeries and stuff like that. They've the town that I was talking about that we visited yesterday, Maisel Jabal, there was 2 of these mobile homes set up by a charity to have a bakery and a grocery. They were threatened to be attacked, and the UNIFIL was informed, so the Lebanese military wanted to move them, and the Israeli military threatened to attack the Lebanese military, the UNIFIL, and anyone that tries to remove these mobile homes, and then eventually destroyed them with missiles, again, unnecessary huge missiles. So the main issue right now for the resistance in its relationship with the Lebanese government is allowing the reconstruction of the South to start. In the year 2006, after the 2006 war, within a month, all the reconstruction began. Now we're 6-7 months after the quote-unquote ceasefire, and now one home was rebuilt in the south of Lebanon, and the funding, donations, whatever you have that is supposed to come to rebuild is not being allowed to come. And so the Lebanese resistance will not negotiate with the Lebanese government on any issues relating to resistance until the Lebanese government delivers on its duty. If the Lebanese government wants to be treated as an actual sovereign that controls the use of force on its territory, well, first show that you're giving services. First, strengthen yourself to be able to resist the Zionists. You don't sit watch as the Zionists are destroying more and occupying more. Otherwise, there will be a continued legitimacy to armed resistance, and that's a message that the president has heard.
Who's not allowing the aid and the assistance to come to Lebanon? Is that the government? Is that the pressure on government from the foreign countries? Your take?
Yeah, like a few days ago, again, just around that commemoration day, the American president's envoy, Ortegas, she spoke in a conference, and she's urging the Gulf citizens and the Gulf governments to ban their citizens from going to Lebanon for vacation until Hezbollah is disarmed. Okay, she was urging their business and governments not to donate for the rebuilding of Lebanon until Hezbollah is disarmed. And of course, we saw after the ceasefire all that scuffle that was made around direct flights from Tehran to Beirut, and how the Lebanese Ministry of Transport blocked those flights because they were claiming money is coming through them, which is normal. It should happen. Money should come from Iran through those flights openly to rebuild Lebanon. And the Iraqi government offered hundreds of millions of dollars to rebuild Lebanon and the south of Lebanon specifically. And again, the Lebanese government is not taking that money. You see, it's directly the American coercion of the Lebanese government that is not allowing the rebuilding to start. And you see, even in Maisel Jabal, again, from yesterday, we saw a man, his home was totally destroyed, and he built one room just beside his destroyed home. with cinder blocks and metal roofing, just so he can stay around while and be able to go to his lands to farm them. The Lebanese Ministry of Internal sent somebody to threaten him that this is illegal, and he was trying for 6 months to get a license to build this one room, and they're not giving him this license, right? So you have people in the Lebanese government that are actually, by threatening their own citizens that are trying to go back to their land, collaborating. This is while the Israelis are threatening to bomb people, while the Israelis are encouraging into the village, and they're not able to rebuild their whole homes. The guy just wants to have one room so he can stay alive, and so the guy, of course, refused and told the Lebanese government to bring whatever it can. If they want to bring the Lebanese army against him, he'll carry arms against the Lebanese army if they try. He was this direct, and I think all of these things show us how the Lebanese government is not sovereign, and it cannot be trusted with taking care of the Lebanese civilians.
If they don't take the assistance from Iran and Iraq, who's going to provide that? Let's assume it's going to be the Arab states in the region. I don't see the United States or any other country in the West would be willing to help Lebanon. But in that case, it reminds me something that has happened in Europe with the case of Serbia being part of the European Union. Anytime they want, you can join us, but you have to do this, and that. And it takes just forever to join the European Union for Serbia. It never happens. If we assume the same sort of attitude would happen with Lebanon, they're not going to help Lebanon to rebuild the southern part of Lebanon. They're just avoiding Iran and Iraq to help Lebanon. And they're asking for what? They're asking for disarming Hezbollah. That's not going to happen. It's a red line, I think, on the part of Hezbollah. That's why they're arguing this, and it means that the southern Lebanon would not be reconstructed anytime soon.
Yeah, I mean, clearly Hezbollah will not disarm as long as there's Israeli occupation, as long as the Zionist colony is clearly bloodthirsty as it is, and is willing to kill children and women and destroy whole lands and peoples. So this is not going to happen. In fact, like after the war in Syria and the collapse of the Syrian government and the fall of it to Wahhabi death squads, and people looking and seeing the fate of the Shia and the Alawites and the Christians and the Druze in Syria, I mean, you have to lose your mind. You have to be totally stupid to hand over your guns. You see, now there's actually more support for people to get armed to the teeth, to strengthen Hezbollah's military abilities to more than it ever was. So it's this is the reality. Like, they can dream about what they want to dream, but it's not going to happen.
Laith, we had Mahmoud Abbas visiting Lebanon, and recent news shows that Israel is secretly approving 22 new illegal settlements in the West Bank. What does he have to say to the Lebanese government in terms of what's going on in the West Bank, and what are the main issues to be discussed between the two parties?
Yeah, I mean, Mahmoud Abbas was coming here hoping that he can announce a project to disarm the Palestinian resistance inside Lebanon. And so Lebanese Palestinian factions in in the refugee camps here in Lebanon. And of course, he's looking at what happened to the Palestinian resistance in Gaza. He's looking at what happened to them in Syria with the Syrian new Jolani, collaborationist regime, disarming the Palestinians there and taking over their camps and so forth. So he was on a high, just like the Zionists. I mean, he's been killing almost 70 Palestinians were killed at the hands of the Palestinian quote-unquote authority security forces in the West Bank over the last 20 months. And but because this issue is so touchy to Lebanon, the Lebanese government barred Mahmoud Abbas from having any public events, from holding any press conferences, because they were really scared about what crazy things he can say. Over the last few months, we heard Mahmoud Abbas say things that are derogatory of the Palestinian resistance and blaming Hamas and Islamic Jihad and all the other groups for the genocide that's happening in Gaza. And the Lebanese government knew if Mahmoud Abbas was stupid enough and was allowed to have any public media space while he's in Lebanon, that he would say something that could blow up the whole country. Okay, so he came into the country, he had a meeting with the president, and he was forced to leave immediately. He wasn't allowed even to stay or have anything. And so we don't know what happened in this meeting, but clearly the president of Lebanon must have been rude to Mahmoud Abbas, and he went back with nothing achieved. Just like it's an impossibility to disarm Hezbollah right now, or that Hezbollah will agree to disarm, it is also an impossibility that the Palestinian factions inside Lebanon would ever disarm as long as we see this genocide continuing.
Laith, with the case of Syria you mentioned, we see the Arab states are trying somehow to be more connected, be more generous to Syria. But how is that going to play out for the region? Are they really optimistic about what's going on in Syria? I'm talking about when we put ourselves in the shoes of these Arab states, Saudi Arabia, UAE, Qatar. They're trying to help al-Jolani somehow, but how is that going to play out in their view?
I think you look at what the Qataris and the Emiratis are doing right now. They are supporting, that initiative of quote unquote aid delivery to Gaza, and the situation, as we saw, is just deteriorating faster and faster. And the war, the attacks on Lebanon continue, the attacks on Yemen continue, the threats against Iran continue. So, because of all of these things, I think no matter what these countries try to do, throwing money at the West is not going to bring them security, because the Americans and the Israelis, their priority is actually to create insecurity in all of these countries that have people that are opposed to the Zionist colony. And so, up until now, clearly the elite in the Gulf countries have not learned this lesson after 100 years. They think that they can be safe in their bubbles and their brothers and sisters being killed all around them, and that somehow they can bring peace with the money of their oils. And that's not happening, and it's not going to happen. And if God, of course, I don't think this will ever happen, but the day that their Palestinians and the Lebanese and the Syrians are defeated and never, their turn is coming. These Gulf states, they only exist to make sure that the oil and gas of the Arabic people doesn't benefit the Arabic people. They only exist, to broadcast the Wahhabi cult, to create schisms within the Muslim peoples, and weaken the unity of the. And the minute the rest of the Muslim peoples that are standing in the way of Zionism and American imperialism, the minute those people are defeated, there's no need to have these Gulf monarchs. They'll all be removed, and the oil and the Arabic oil and gas will just be looted openly, and their own people will be culled like the rest of us.
But we know that they're not going to be defeated. They have been fighting for many years. It just, I understand what you're arguing, just to send some sort of warning to these Arab states. How about Turkey? How about the way that they were so much of the most influential country in what has happened in Syria? I'm talking about the Middle Eastern countries in the West Asia, was Turkey. Right now, they're just completely out of the scene. It seems that you hear nothing from them. What are they trying to do in Syria?
Yeah, I mean, Turkey has been crucial in the destruction of Syria, and it's also honestly been crucial in the genocide in Palestine, in Gaza. Look, over the last 20 months, Turkey is the number 4 exporter to Israel. And everybody should know this. The number 1 is China. Number 2 is the United States. 3 is Germany. 4 is Turkey. And that's a really dark spot on the reputation of China. And the Chinese people should be doing something about that. But Turkey, again, had, without the Turkish involvement in Syria, the Syrian terrorists that were there, the Wahhabi death squads that were imported from all around the world, they would have been defeated long time ago. Syria, Turkey has the longest border with Syria, and it's very porous. Hundreds of thousands were brought through it. The money, the weapons, all of that, the major, although Jordan, was involved in this, but the major entry point was Turkey. And today, Turkey is looting Syria. They don't need to talk about it. They're happy that nobody's talking about it. They're happy that all the eyes are on their, and the Mossad's agent, Al-Jolani. They're happy that the eyes are on the slaughter that is happening on the streets while they're looting Syria. All the main resources, all the main companies, all the main, crops have been looted. All the old olive groves of Aleppo and the coast of Syria have been uprooted. Nobody's talking about what's happened to the archaeological sites of Syria. They're being looted massively. And that's all going through Turkey. So Turkey is making a killing right now out of the killing of the Syrian people. It's also making a killing, as I said, out of the genocide of Gaza. Most of the food goods that are being imported to the Zionist colony are from Turkey. And of course, there's the famous thing that all the diapers for the Israeli soldiers are being shipped from Turkey, made in Turkey. That's how deep the relationship of Turkey to the feces of Zionism, not only Zionism. This is the Turkish government and economy takes care of Zionist shit. That's what it does.
Dave, before wrapping up this session, I want to know your take on what's going on in Syria in terms of, we know that the Arab states are trying to help Al-Jolani as much as they can. Turkey somehow is doing the same. United States just lifting the sanctions, which we talked about it before. It's a good sign for Syrian people because they have been under these brutal sanctions for many years. And but when it comes to what's going on in Syria in terms of the way that the Al-Jolani, I don't know if we can call him a government, but these groups who are running Syria right now, do you feel that they're going to bring some sort of calmness, some sort of mutual understanding among different groups in Syria, or we're going to see something radical coming up and growing and exploding in Syria?
Yeah, we look at the situation on the ground in Syria financially, economically, is actually worse than it was in January. And that's a unbelievable achievement, honestly. You'd think that it would be in the interest of the West and Turkey and the Saudis and the Emiratis and Qataris to kind of throw money on the Syrian people so you can buy them, basically, at least. But this is not the intention. They don't want a healthy Syria. They don't want healthy Syrians. They don't want Syrians that can think and can produce. They want Syrians that are, kind of on the path to be what we see in Gaza. Those images of Gazans begging for aid between barbed wire and being slaughtered as they are begging for aid. That's the trajectory that the Turks and the Gulf and behind them the Zionists and the Americans want to the Syrian people. So yeah, it may sound illogical, but this is really what they want. They don't want ever that the Syrian people come together again to cause a challenge to Zionism and Western hegemony and Turkish imperialism or Gulf manipulation. And I hear from people every day on the ground in Syria, relatives and friends, and the situation is really scary, especially for women and young girls. Every day, tens of girls are being kidnapped across the country. And it's not only, Shia or Alawi or Christian or Druze. We're talking about women in general. The situation is very bad. And you can't travel across the country as a Syrian. There's spheres of control, areas that you need permits to go into. You're from Damascus and you want to go to Suwaida, there's no way. You want to go to the northeast where the Kurdish militias control, you can't go. You want to go to Idlib, you can't go. You want to go to, now the Americans have expanded their occupation zone in Al Tanaf. It's basically to Palmyra, and you want to go to visit Palmyra, you can't go. So where you are, now you're stuck. You can't move. And there's no international travel. And borders are closed. And nobody wants to come in and tell you what's happening. So it's a slaughterhouse in total darkness.
You mentioned the situation in Gaza, and we know that UN sharply criticized the US-Israeli, so-called US-Israeli Gaza Humanitarian Foundation on Wednesday after 47 people were injured during a chaotic aid distribution in Gaza. What's going on, Laith, right now in Gaza? And even UN is not happy with the situation that this foundation is causing there.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it when I read the fact that the head of this organization was a former CIA agent and he resigned. a CIA agent resigns because this organization is too much. Can you believe that? I mean, what kind of cruelty were they preparing for? What kind of intelligence operation were they preparing under this cover of this organization for a person who spent his whole career as an intelligence agent refusing to work for it anymore? And so his resignation was a clear indication of what's going to come next. And this is what we saw. We saw the luring and herding of Palestinian starving civilians into a kill zone. And it's happening in front of all cameras. I saw this video. I don't know if it's real. At this point, sometimes you see some things that they could be AI, but a video of one of these American mercenaries, enjoying his time while in front of this line of starving Palestinians. The images looked like a concentration camp, a Nazi concentration camp, or an Italian fascist concentration camp in Libya in the 1920s. So we're at the final stage of the Holocaust of the people in Gaza, the Palestinian people in Gaza. And it's accelerating. The mass starvation, the mass killing is accelerating. And the only thing that can stop this is direct action. It's not anymore about trying to get aid to Palestine, to Gaza. It's about defeating the Zionists. It's about taking direct action in Western societies to stop the supply of this genocide. The genocide cannot happen without the weapons and the money and the media cover that is given to the Zionists by the Western elite. And this is why I think, what we just saw with Elias Rodriguez, this was expected. I mean, I personally expected it way earlier than that now. But Elias Rodriguez and his action is a omen of what's going to come, what's going to happen on the streets of Paris, Berlin, London, Toronto in the next weeks and months if these elite don't stop the genocide. And it doesn't seem like they will want to stop it. So people should be expecting the militarization right now of the resistance in the West.
I don't know if you watched conservative leader Kemi Badenoch on Sky News. She's a black woman, but she said that Israel is fighting a proxy war for the United Kingdom. And it's so sad, it's so tragic to see a black woman talking this way, and how the system is corrupt to use these people against their roots, their identity, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, she is right that the Zionist colony is fighting a proxy war against all the Arabic people, not only the Palestinians, and all the Muslim people. It's the 6,000 years almost of attempt of Europeans to conquer the peoples that live in North Africa and Western Asia. This is not a new thing, okay? And the whole existence of the Zionist colony is to physically cut off the Arabic people geographically from each other, to create a sore in the middle, in the heart of the Muslim world, to cut off all trade and cultural exchange and so on, to make us all into smaller and smaller identities. That's the whole thing. Of course, the Zionists are fighting a war, of a proxy war on behalf of the European uncivilization. Okay, that's a fact. And of course, there is always good house slaves, good kitchen slaves in all our races, in all our ethnicities, in all our cultures. There's all, look at Abbas, Mahmoud Abbas. Look at the president of Lebanon or his prime minister. Look at the Shah and the Shah supporters in the UK. So it's not an issue of look at the Jews themselves. Come on, you know, the Zionist Jews are selling their own blood, their own people, as cannon fodder, as a frontline proxy war to give strength to the imperialist West against us. So there's always house slaves amongst us, and those house slaves, those capos, as the Jewish resistance against the Nazis would call them, those capos, they're only place after the revolution is in jail, in front of a court that will find them guilty to be shot in front of a firing squad. Okay, and so I am not surprised, actually, that if you look at how over the last 10 years specifically, we saw this interest within Western elite to manufacture brown faces and black faces that will lead the killing of brown and black people. We saw that in Canada, with the leader of the NDP being a Sikh Indian, or of Asian, the National Democratic Party, the New Democratic Party. We saw that with the various ministers and leaders that they brought into the Conservative and the Labour Party in the UK. So this is a trend, and the trend now, I think, is reaching an end. I think she will be the last prominent black or brown person to rule in lead these parties in the West, because the right-wing imperialists don't see any more use of it. And we saw how this anti-identity or equity and diversity initiatives, this is now going to take full fire in the West. It's going to happen in Canada, it's going to happen in the UK. So she will lose her job also. But believe me, she will be the first one that's going to be promoting the anti-equity and diversity initiatives in the UK, and she'll be willing to lose her job because Master said so.
Thank you so much, Laith, for being with us today. Great pleasure as always.
See you soon, Nima.
See you soon. Bye-bye. Take care, Laith.